Okay, namaste and welcome. So let's start our class with the Vedic Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Om Bhuvava Swaha Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Satgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityurma Amritam Om Sahna Vavatu Sahna Bhunaktu Sahviryam Karvavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sutras. And um, we ended our class with verse number 53. So let's look at verse number 54. So this is a chapter 5, because if you remember, I told you that this is a small scripture, but still it's divided into the chapters. How many chapters? 10 chapters. And each chapter is divided into further sections also. So we are in chapter 5, and section 1, which is verse 51 to 55. And over here we are learning about the supreme love, supreme, which is called Bhakti, okay, supreme love. So 51 to 55. So today let's look at 54. What is he telling us? How he is defining for us so that we can check ourselves, not checking others, but check ourselves. Is our love for our beloved growing or not? Are we moving towards that supreme love or not? गुण रहितम कामना रहितम प्रतीक्षण वर्धमानम अविच्छिन्नम सूक्ष्मतरम अनुभव रूपम. So these are some of the qualities in a supreme lover. Gun rahitam, devoid of all attributes. Gun rahitam. Kamna rahitam, without any desire whatsoever. Pratikshan vardhamanam, growing every moment. So this love keeps on growing. Avichinnam, unbroken, constant. It's not only morning and evening, it's not only over the weekends, unbroken. Suksham supremely subtle. Anubhava rupam, of the nature of immediate experience. Anubhava. It's a beautiful verse. We are going to spend some time understanding it so that our love for God keeps on growing like this. So this pure love, this supreme love, is without attributes, without the poison of desires, every moment increasing, unbroken, subtlest, and of the nature of sheer immediate experience. This kind of a love is seen rarely, rarely, because this is the highest order of love. It is subtler than the subtle, because physical you can see, grosser you can see, somebody chanting you can see, somebody going for some pilgrimage you can see, somebody donating you can see, but this love is so subtle you cannot see. It is subtlest. So that's why Naradaji, in a chain of adjectival phrases, throwing the light on this pure love so that we can understand. It's like this kind of a love's true immensity he is trying to show it to us. This is the beauty of this Parabhakti. Gunarahitam, the first word, devoid of all attributes. That means it cannot even be described, because we describe things according to the gunas. This is good, this is bad, this is ugly, this is pure. This love is so complete, so whole. This love which transforms, this kind of a love which passeth all kinds of understandings. You really cannot explain it. Anything to bring it down so that we can relate and relay, they got some qualities to it. This is beyond the qualities. Gunarahitam. It is so pure. Pure identification. Kamana rahit. It's without any desire, worldly desire. So this love for God is not prompted by any kamana. That means to get something from God. Kamana is that, hey, I love you so that you give me something back. Nothing to gain from the beloved, only to give it to the beloved, yourself. So Narada is saying this love is so pure, so exalted. It is really above the reach of our ordinary comprehension. Because worldly loves, all kinds of love which we are familiar with, they are desire prompted. That's why love with desire is called lust. It's not love. Love is the victory of the spirit. Love creates, lust destroys. Lust destroys the peace in the heart. But love actually lives with joys. Lust is only seeking for the joy. So love generates tranquility within. Lust begets excitement. So in a love relationship, if we don't feel peaceful, we are looking for excitement. That's a lust. It's very important to understand this difference of love with desire and love without desire. Let me give you an example. You're all familiar with Parvati's love for Shivji. Mother Parvati, she performed a lot of austerities because she wanted to be the other half of Shiv. She wanted to merge with the Shiv. Lord Shiv, he definitely was watching. He's God. So he sends 9 Yogeshwar to Parvati. Those Yogeshwars, they come to Parvati and they said, Shiv has so many flaws. He wears deer skin. He has ashes on the body. Snake as a necklace. Lives in the burial ground also. Why are you doing all the austerities for Shiv? Why don't you love Vishnu? He is the abode of all the qualities. They said, Mahadev av gun bhavan, Vishnu sakal gun dham, jehi karman ram jahisan, tehi san kam. So they tried to convince her. You know what did she say? She says, Janam koti lag ragar hamari, varhu shambhu na to rahu kumari. She said, either I marry Shiva or I will stay unmarried forever. That is a love. It's not love because of some guns. It's a love, pure love. That is it. Because if a person's love is based upon the qualities, that is not love. That is calm. Just remember that. So over here, Narada is telling us to love God to this level. Whether you get material wealth, health wealth, or whether you get any kind of a disaster in life, but still keep your love for God. Because often we think that no, if I am doing the bhakti, everything else should go perfectly for me. That is not love. That is a lust. So that's why Narad is saying the love is this level of love is kamana rahit, free from even the awareness of desires. And then he said, moment to moment it multiplies in its dimension. We don't want to stop this love over here. If any time world comes into my mind, I should know this and I should let that out, and it should bother me. Why did I let my mind think about anything other than my lover? It should multiply in its dimensions, in its efficacy, in its depth, in its amplitude, in its conquest and influence. In every area, it should grow and grow and grow. That's why he used the word avichinnam. So this experience of this love is unbroken in the waking state, in the dreaming state, in the dream state also. That's why I said it's not only at this Sandhya time. It's not only Sundays. All the time. Total identification with my beloved. This love is flowing from us to him. Is constant in and through all conditions of life, in all states of existence, in all circumstances and situations, anytime, any place. Whether you're eating food, whether you're sleeping, whether you're taking a bath, whether you're cleaning, whether you're serving or being served, no matter what, day or night, this union. This is what Narad is talking about. So that means whether you are physically acting, mentally feeling, or intellectually thinking. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This love is unbroken, ever growing in its expansion. See, just like we keep an eye on our bank accounts, it's growing or not. For a lover of God, the love is the real bank balance. Such a love, a divine love, expresses itself through all the activities at all times. And the true love does not seek anything in return. Remember that. So it is supremely subtle, suksham taram, because if there's no attribute, it is suksham. Because subtlety is measured by its pervasiveness. So it's pervasive everywhere. Don't we say that God is everywhere? Narayan is everywhere. So this love cannot be limited by I love concepts, that I love India. I love my country, America, right now. or I love Brahmins only, or I love women or the men. No, this is not a love when we just categorize it. God is everywhere. Whom can I hate? What could I hate? All are but part of my beloved. Cannot hate anybody. See, just like a parent's love is pervading through all his children. So that's how this kind of a devotee, this level of a devotee, wherever he or she thinks, it's my God. Anu, Anu. That is the key word over here. Anu. Anu means in every atom of it. Anu. Or every molecule of it. He says nothing but the presence of God. In the thorn also, in the rose also. In the dirt also, in the sky also. All, everywhere, my beloved. And then he says, Anubhava Rupam. If cannot be explained, but it can be experienced. Anubhav. So it's a subtle, it's elusive, it is a thing which cannot be explained, but it can experience. It is the nature of our experience. And not only that, it's an immediate experience. See, immediate means all other experiences are a mediated experience. Like I can see through my eyes with the mediation of my eyes. I can hear with the mediation of my ears. I can feel with the mediation of my skin, touch. But this love is beyond that. It's immediate, without any mediation. Anubhav. See, just like we learned earlier, the term anurag. See, over there is an attachment, anurag. So this Sanskrit term need to be examined because we use it several times. So, so over there that meant continuous attachment. Either continuous attachment with God or continuous attachment with the world. Over here, continuous experience. And another way you can look at is this bhava. Bhava means becoming. So anubhav means continuously the same thought rises to give and form an unbroken experience. Becoming that. So it's a nature of constantly becoming. So continuously to be, that is the fulfillment of the highest love. Don't you often hear this word in the meditations also, in other spiritual books we read, just to be. Don't become, just to be. So that is what he's talking about over. In order to just be, you need to surrender. Because you have totally identified with God, you have become that. And that's where the anubhav comes. Then he says, anirvachaniya, that he has been saying that right from the beginning. Because in the last few verses, if you look at all these verses, they're almost like a thesis on love. He said, like the attempt of a dumb man expressing the taste he has enjoyed, cannot explain. So that's how the lover of this level cannot explain this love. So love experience becomes inexpressible. And it is only found to manifest brilliantly, he said, only in a rare person. Patra, he used the word. That means we have to become qualified, have those qualifications. And now in this verse, he is telling us, guna rahitam, without attributes, kamana rahitam, without desires, expanding every moment, and avichinnam, unbroken, subtler, sukshamtaram, and the nature of immediate experience, personal and subjective experience. So to me, I think when we look at each and every word Naraji has used over here, it becomes a thesis of supreme love. Then it's up to us to cultivate these qualities, to remember this and see, watch yourself more and more and see if our love is growing to that level or not. Any question on this verse? Because it's a pretty deep verse actually. It's a lot given in there. Sutra forms are very deep. Extra words have been thrown out, taken out. Only the very essential words are there. Okay.
We have Neetu who has a question.
Yes, Neetu. Maybe towards the end then. Okay, because she's not speaking right now. So, okay, let's look at number 55. Tat prapye, tat ev avlokyati, tat ev shrinoti, tat ev bhashyati, tat ev chintyati. Tat means that. Prapye, having attained. Again, tat word is over here, again and again, and that is tat really means over here supreme love. So he is still referring to that supreme love, the Parbhakti. Ev means alone, avlokyati, sees or feels or comprehends, avlokyati. Tat ev shrinoti. Shrinoti means hears. Tat ev bhashyati, that alone speaks. Tat ev chintyati, that alone thinks or contemplates. So, having reached the supreme love, the devotee sees that alone. And again, sees means comprehends or feels that alone. That means the love of God alone. Hears that alone, speaks of that alone, and thinks, contemplates upon that alone. So, this sutra is directly and very closely explaining the way Chandogya Upanishad, the famous and beautiful passage from Chandogya Upanishad. If you have studied Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 7, similar message, or I would say the same message. Different language, because art is different, that is in a mantra form and this is sutra form. Na anya shinoti, na anyat janati sa bhumaha. So it goes like that. In English it says, there where you see nothing else. That means nothing else but God alone. There where you see nothing else, where you hear nothing else. Nothing else you know or feel. That state is called bhuma. Bhuma. Bhuma word is another term for Brahma, for God, for infinite. Bhuma. The all-pervading, the infinite, the eternal, the immutable, the Brahma. There where you see other things, there where you hear other things, where you feel and understand other things. Tad alpam. Tad alpa. Alpa means finite. So he says, if you see something else other than Brahma, that is the finite, the limited. That which is infinite is immortal, that which is finite is mortal. So this is what Narada is telling us. That this kind of a love takes us to that level. Brahmahood, that state of consciousness where you see nothing else, you feel nothing else, you think nothing else. See, right now, majority of us in the state, even though God is there, but we don't see God. We don't hear God. Don't we often hear this message that this Om is going on macrocosmically also and microcosmically also, constantly? This anahat, this nad is going on continuously, but we don't hear it. So God is there, Brahma is there, but we don't see it, we don't hear it, we don't talk about it, we don't, because we are not in love with it. We are in love with this manifested world. We all know it's all temporary, but we are still so fixated on it, fascinated with it. We want to grab it, hold it, even if it's not ours. In our mind, we think it's ours. So from this, in order to go to the other, that will take some sadhana. And that's what Narada is telling us. So that state of experience is called Bhuma, that is Brahm. That is also called Tad Amritam, immortality. So attaining the state of supreme love, Narada is saying, one comes to speak of that. Why? Because he becomes so full of that. Whatever is inside you, that's what will come out. Because he cannot speak anything else. So he continuously feel that also. Tadev avalokyati, feels also. It's not only saying with words, but feelings also. And mind cannot comprehend anything else other than that. And that Bhagat who is filled with such a deep and firm devotion in his love at his intellectual level, even he comes to apprehend only God within, without, everywhere. Tadev chintyati. So Naraji has very carefully brought us stage by stage in this small scripture to this highest state of pure devotion. So that we, pausing at its overwhelming beauty, we can plan our journey. We can rejuvenate our love for God. We can create and recreate these heights also. Anytime we think we are slipping, catch hold of your actions, catch hold of your thoughts, your sadhana. Because sometimes these lower, passionate, impure vasanas of ours, they give us restlessness. They give us dirt in our mind. They hide him from us. These vasanas are the one which are doing it. A contemplative mind alone can experience me in my true nature. Lord Krishna said that in Bhagavad Gita. And that is exactly Narad is telling us that if you, when you reach there, this is what you'll do. Lord Krishna said, my Bhagat, they talk about me. They tell each other stories of me. They enjoy talking about me. So when we spend our time in doing that, then we are increasing our love for God. Because when this kind of a love is experienced in the totally purified mind and heart, then the best we can say of this love at its climax is that it is without any properties. Gun rahitam, which he was mentioning earlier, with none of its usual attributes. And attributes are always with the Maya, not with the God. So it's not conditioned by any particular or general attribute. It's not limited. So a true devotee, which we all we all have the urge to be. That's why we are sitting here and studying something like this. If we didn't have this urge, we wouldn't be. It wouldn't be any interest to us. So we need to see if we are expanding our love in our identification with Him or not. Do we feel our essential oneness with Him? Anubhav Rupam. Is He in our mind continuously or not? It must be understood. And recall the description of that infinite from that Upanishad, the Chandogya Upanishad. That realm of experience where nothing other than yourself is ever recognized. That means the real you. So that means no object you are seeing, the eyes are not seeing any object. In the Vedantic tradition, actually, the two sense organs, eyes and ears, when they say eyes and the ears, that really represent all five organs of perception. Generally, we call them Gyanendriya. And the same way, when they say speech, that represent all the action organs also. Okay? So that means the other four also and the other three also. That means all the Gyanendriya and all the Karamendriya, action organs and the sense organs, where nothing is known, felt, or experienced other than yourself within the nature of it. Yourself, not the ego I'm talking about, yourself, the real self. Okay? Because normally we are bombarded with the Antakaran and the Bahikaran. Bahikaran is those senses, those organs. Antakaran is man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. We are bombarded with those. And we have forgotten who we are in reality. It may come as a aham brahmasmi vritti. It may be soham, the hansa vritti, or it may be shivoham, or Narayan alone in this world, or a Christ consciousness in this world, whatever world. Whenever these vrittis come, so with the help of these vrittis, this is called a savikalp samadhi. But with these vrittis, you are moving towards the only one. So it can be any one of these according to the attitude of the seeker and his or her cultural background. So all these help us to reach there. Because this is the last but one stage, and therefore this I recognizing this pluralistic phenomena dissolves. Then there's only one. If you remember in the beginning, I, an entity, a seeker, separate, and God is the goal in the beginning for a devotee. Then for a pure devotee, now there is I and God, the lover and the beloved. There's a relationship. But when I am also liquidated, nothing remains except the self alone, one infinite love. So these are like three stages. So right now, God and me, I love God. That's a second stage. So I need to use those, whether it's a mantra or whether it's a sadhana, to dissolve myself eventually. So to summarize this verse, the person who attains this bhakti sees only God, hears only God, he talks of God, he thinks of God. In other words, the mind has gotten attached to God. The whole world has become godly for this devotee. All his actions have become godly. It's not that he's not acting, but he's not arrogantly acting. So this is the consequence of receiving this emotion. This experience of God has stages. First, we will see everybody as souls and part of God. He is so and part of God. And sages go beyond that. Everybody is God. That is the drishti. Paramhansa, seeing God everywhere, in everything. And I'm sure you have heard many, many stories where the saints, their devotees or the people around them saw them behaving like this. In Maharashtra, there was a saint by the name of Namdev. He was eating from a plate, and a dog came and picked up the roti. Namdev ran after him with butter in hand and said, Krishna took the roti without the butter. He said, Krishna, your throat will get hurt if you eat this roti without the butter. Please take the butter. So it's not a show off. That's what he saw. This is what Narada is telling us. In our own Yoga Sadhana Ashram tradition, my own Guruji's Guruji, he saw God in a watermelon. There was a bull, he was eating the watermelon and he said, oh my God, my Ganesh is being eaten up. So these are the experiences which flows out and gives us the validation to the sutras like this. An encouragement for us also to move towards it, try to see God, at least try to see God in God's picture or a statue. Do we really see when we do the prayers morning, evening? Do we really see God standing there, sitting there, blessing us or not? If not in a dog or in a watermelon, in a God's statue. So God reveals himself differently. Sometimes just a glimpse like a searchlight, sometimes a bigger darshan. God gives us this to encourage us. That's why it said, Tad Vishnoho Parampad Sada Pashyanti. You will always be with God. Different stages of darshan. But we got to just make sure we keep on progressing. Guru guides us. Guru inspires us. Guru encourages us. Guru even prepares us. But sadhana, we must do it ourselves. We need to keep on revising our knowledge. Because when the knowledge is there, the devotional sentiment will arise naturally. Because when the knowledge evaporates, because this is the knowledge, God is everywhere in everything. When the knowledge evaporates, our devotional sentiments wane. We got to consciously bring it back. That is the sadhana. Exercise your authority over your intellect. Participate in satsangs so that inspiration keeps on growing, and contemplate daily. Daily, when we do the contemplation or when we attend the satsangs, what happens is we are watering that seed of devotion. Seed is there, but we need to water it so that it keeps on growing. We need to fertilize it, to keep working on it. So now, in the next verse, 56, 56 and 57, he's talking about the secondary devotion. Because this was like a primary, topmost. And even Naraji understands that everybody has not reached there. There are stages. So he talks about the devotion which is sprouting. So we got to look at that also, because majority of us are there. Okay, so I know it's already 11:14, but let me just tell you a little bit about this, and then we can have a full discussion next week. गौने त्रिधा गुण भेदात आर्त आदि भेदात. Goni means secondary, lower, or in Sanskrit it's called aparbhakti. Tridha, threefold. Gun bhedat, according to the difference in the mental dispositions. Gun, gun bhed, according to the gunas. Arth adi bhedat, according to the type of discontentment. Arth means discontentment. So the secondary devotion is of three kinds. According to the difference in the mental disposition of the devotee, or according to the type of discontentment in the devotees. So mental disposition of the devotee is tamasic, rajasic, sattvic. And type of the discontentment, because both are three kinds. Tridha, threefold, both are three. So gun bhed three, tamasic, rajasic, sattvic. And according to the type of discontentment, three kinds. What are those? Arth, Jigyasu, Artha, Arthi. That's what Lord Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so discontentment. We can have a discontentment for the material wealth, and we can say, God, please give me that. And that is according to the bhakti rule, love for God, that is a tamasic. Discontentment, I don't know enough. Jigyasu, that's a rajasic. Discontentment, how come I have not gotten in touch with my lover yet? That's arth, that's a sattvic. Okay, so we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I just wanted you to know that this is all these three, because it has to do with the attributes and with the emotions, with the mind. So it's the lower or the secondary, but that doesn't mean it's bad. We have to rise to this level in order to reach to what he has mentioned in the last few verses, the supreme. We cannot just climb up to the supreme par bhakti without climbing into the upper bhakti. Okay, so we'll talk about it more. I want you to just look at it this week, and then if you have any question, we can talk about it. Let me do the Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.